Today is October 4th, the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. On this day in 1518, a weary traveler stopped in Nuremberg on his way to the imperial city of Augsburg. Friends greeted him with dire warnings of what awaited him there and urged him to go home before it was too late. He was undeterred by their pleas and wrote a letter home to his friends describing the situation. That man was Martin Luther, and he was going to meet with the representative of the Pope, Cardinal Cajetan. Cajetan would interrogate Luther over a period of 3 days, and when it was clear to the cardinal that Luther would not change his positions, he ordered Luther to recant or never return. Fearing for his life, he fled Augsburg under the cover of night. What was Luther thinking about at this critical point in his life? The letter that Luther wrote the night he arrived in Nuremberg still survives in the collections of Museum of the Bible and is one of my favorite artifacts. It offers us a clear insight into the mind of Luther 11 months after he first sent the 95 Theses to Albert of Brandenburg, the Archbishop of Mainz and Magdeburg. The Protestant Reformation was in its earliest stages, but this letter already demonstrates key elements of Luther's personality and theology. In the letter's opening, Luther mentions that his friends were attempting to persuade him not to go to Augsburg. In the beginning lines, he says something that is quintessentially Luther. Verum ego persto fixus. Nevertheless, I stand fast, firmly fixed. Tradition claimed Luther said something in a similar vein at the Diet of Worms in April 1521 before the Holy Roman Emperor. After refusing to recant his teachings, he supposedly added, "Here I stand, I can do no other." Those words don't actually appear in the official transcript of the proceedings, but appear in later publications by Luther's supporters. They may reflect prior similar statements, such as this one in 1518. In the letter, Luther mentions his principal opponent at the time, Johann Eck. Eck had written a pamphlet attacking Luther's positions. Luther says that Eck had not begun to Wittenbergize, a word Luther coined as a shorthand to symbolize his calls for church reforms. Rather, Eck is stirring up hatred for the theologians at Wittenberg. Luther admits that Eck's words sound elegant, but said that they are little more than something thrown together by a pagan babbler. Luther's choice of words reflects his skill as a writer to make things memorable. His later translations of the Bible would have a profound effect on German language and literature, in large part due to his way with words. Now, a little above the lowest crease in the paper, Luther mentions that he is traveling with his friend, Magistro Wenceslau. He was Wenzel Link, Luther's friend and fellow Augustinian monk. It is known that not only did Link accompany Luther to Augsburg, but he also exchanged cowls with him because Luther's had holes in it and was unfit for an appearance before a cardinal. Link's steady friendship contrasts with the situation Luther faces in Augsburg. In the next 2 lines, Luther states that concurrent persecutores velut lupi ad agnum devorandum. My persecutors run together like wolves to devour a lamb. These vivid words recall language from the Gospels, for example, in Luke chapter 10 or John chapter 10, and emphasize the danger Luther feels he is in. Finally, at the end of the letter, fully aware that his appearance at Augsburg could lead to his excommunication and execution, he tells his friends to persevere, knowing that they must either stray from men or be condemned by God. And he ends with words based on Romans 3, sed est Deus verax, homen autem mendax. This means, but God is true. Man, however, is a liar. Luther puts his trust in God, even if it might mean losing his life. At many points over the next few years, Luther would face the possibility of execution at the hands of those who condemned him, most famously as he was returning from the Diet of Worms in 1521. It may be that Luther's stress expressed itself in the end of the letter. He initially wrote, "Sedis Deus mendax," but God is a liar. He caught his mistake and crossed out the word mendax and replaced it with verax, true. We do not have the envelope, and because it is pasted to a piece of paper, we do not know to whom Luther addressed the letter. Scholars believe it was to someone in his circle of friends back in Wittenberg. 2 centuries later, a German publication of this letter translated the beginning and the end into German. The publication, however, left out the date and the city. Then the letter disappeared shortly thereafter. Scholars have no idea where it was for another 200 years until 1960. A Boston book dealer contacted H. Spencer Glidden, a collector of autographed manuscripts and professor at the Tufts University Medical School. The book dealer showed him the letter and said that it had been a prized possession of a Boston family for several generations. Glidden bought the letter and contacted the noted Luther scholar Roland Bainton, who published the text in 1962. That same year, Glidden also published an article about it, aptly titled, "A Lamb Among Wolves." This letter is a rare artifact from a pivotal time in history when Martin Luther faced an uncertain future, but showed the characteristics that carried him through the Protestant Reformation. And today is this letter's 500th anniversary. Happy anniversary letter.